Come on.
And we are back once again live at Whitman 2026 Spring Expo in Baltimore. And we have another special guest with us. Please give a warm coin show welcome to Jeff Behan from Premier Rare Coins.
Hey everybody, how's everyone doing today?
How you doing?
Good, real good. So you're here in Baltimore. You guys are having some great success online.
Great success.
Yes.
Appreciate that. Yeah.
And you guys are doing a lot of the fun, same kind of stuff that we like to do, which is educate online and just talk coins. And I think that's really fun.
Yeah, I mean that was pretty much the whole goal. So Premier Coins is almost 11 years old. And you can kind of go back on our YouTube and you can kind of see I put together some janky videos a long time ago where I was trying to kind of just educate the people that like these events are going on
Right.
and how much cool stuff and really historical individuals are actually at these shows. And long story short, 10 years later, I ran into Isaac, convinced him to move down to Florida, which wasn't that hard to do. Yeah. Right. And, last year it was pretty crazy. We reached almost 100 million views across YouTube and Instagram alone. And now we're kind of getting, we're getting our podcast and stuff onto Spotify and Apple now too. So we're just now branching out into all those things and really just trying to, hit the ground running. Our main goal is, I think this might be my second or third interview in total. So,
Ever?
Yeah, exactly. So it's really not about Premier Rare Coins. It's mainly about, interviewing, guys like you, coin dealers on the floor. And we really try to make a focal point of like locals from the area. So we try to get locals from Baltimore, DC, coin clubs, and just try to expand, how'd you get into coin collecting or dealing? Right. What's your favorite coin that you have today and why are you at the show?
Yeah. I mean, it's simple as that, really. I mean, it sounds so simple, but it really is. Like it just, a lot of people want to hear those stories and want to, a lot of people that do this want to hear what other people do and why they do it. And I think that's a great way to cover it.
Yeah. And I think it's really exciting. I think one of the most eventful things that I've seen so far that I think is really cool is, from the expert, quote unquote, we have, the YNs that are as young as like 16 years old, which are some of the smartest kids on particular products and coins versus, 70 to 80-year-old guys and ladies that wrote the books on the foundations of coins that we look at now. So it's such a range in expertise.
Yeah. And it's the transition from that old guard to the new come up is, I think, really fun to watch and really interesting.
Well, I think it's interesting that when you have a podcast, right, it tends to reach a younger demographic, right?
Yeah.
And I think one of the things that has been done well is for the podcasters to introduce the younger generation to the older generation.
Right.
Yeah.
And kind of preserve that stuff and record it for posterity.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it really is crazy. But that's where most people are getting their information from today. Whether you like it or not, it's not books, it's not documentaries, it's boots on the ground, journalism and podcasting that you're seeing on social media. At least for me and, a lot of my friends, we don't watch the TV anymore. We don't read the newspaper.
Yeah.
So, we have curated our own form of stuff. And the only way, to pretty much get the word out there for the stuff that we're doing is, for them to be interested in those like hobbies and interests. And that's how we kind of slip our way in by, like earlier today or yesterday, we went to the Supreme Court building because, St. Gaudens's protege was one of the gentlemen, his name's slipping my mind right now, but that helped make some of the statues out there. So, just doing little things like that to kind of like show people that like, the coin world, has a lot of other aspects as well.
There's a lot of transitional stuff across different media and different places. It's funny where you find coin things. We were in a seafood restaurant last night, and up on the wall they have paper money, just all sorts of paper money from all over the world.
Yeah, I love it.
It's just fun.
I always say as a coin guy, I love going to the bars where they just have the dollar bills stapled everywhere.
Yeah.
There's a really famous bar and it's called No Name Pub. I believe it's in Island Mirada in Florida. And like, I don't know how much money's estimated to be there, but I mean, it's like one of those memes where you're like, oh, this house is 200 years old. Look at all the paint that's on it. Like there's layers of dollar bills and stuff. I'm always like looking, I'm like, is there anything from anywhere like unique,
Hope they never have a fire.
Yeah, right. Like it's pretty bad,
That place will go fast.
Yeah, right.
So you do a lot of interviews. Who have you had anybody that you've keyed on that has been your favorite?
Well, so Isaac is the one that does a lot of the interviews for us, right,
Okay.
on our podcast.
Sure.
He's the one that runs our main YouTube channel. I'm pretty much the owner of Premier Coins, so I deal with like the day-to-day stuff and the sales.
You're the paperwork guy.
Yeah, I'm the paperwork guy.
The backroom guy, yeah.
I make sure that we have our flights and our hotels and we get to where we need to go.
Those are very important jobs.
But to be honest with you, I do watch a lot of his podcasts and I do watch a lot of the stuff. And it kind of brings me back to what I was saying before, that like one day I'll be listening to a 16-year-old and the next day I'll be listening to, a 75-year-old. And both of them are giving me really interesting takes on something extremely niched. And what's crazy is each of them are trying to tell you something that they're making money from that knowledge, which is crazy. Like you could look at these coins, but if you knew the one thing the 16-year-old or the 75-year-old was telling you, you could identify the rareness out of those 10 quote unquote common coins and be able to make some money there.
And the fun part is sometimes they're not the same.
No.
Those two takes are completely different.
Exactly. Like one has the second coin and one has like the fifth coin, but you never know what comes from it. It's really incredible.
And finding the overlap is where the fun is.
Yeah, it really is, so it is pretty crazy.
So you have a shop in Florida, you said?
Yeah, we do have a shop.
And you're where at? I'm sorry?
So we're in Palm Beach County. So
Okay.
we're in West Palm Beach.
Gotcha.
So we're right in that buffer between like Royal Palm and Palm Beach Island.
That's like shipwreck country, isn't it?
It is. So we are on the Treasure Coast, which is
Yep.
pretty crazy. So from the Keys all the way up to Douglas Beach and Vero, where obviously they found this, which is
I
pretty
was going to
crazy.
say, I can imagine that you like shipwreck
Yeah,
stuff.
I love shipwrecks. It's absolutely cool. I try to talk to a lot of the divers out there. Shout out, we had Captain Levin, who actually just found a couple thousand of those silver coins last year.
There you go.
On our podcast, which is pretty crazy because he's a local.
Sure.
We've done some cool interviews where we went out and toured the Mel Fisher Museum with Melvin, who was the grandson of Mel Fisher, who actually found the Etosha, which is pretty crazy.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's just something growing up in Florida, especially Palm Beach County, that it's kind of like we learn it in like middle school. We take trips down to the Keys, we stop at the diving
we go
museum.
to Lincoln's Tomb, you guys go to shipwrecks.
Yeah, right. So it's pretty crazy because like realistically, if you grew up, like if your dad or your grandparent grew up in Florida, like they most of the time will have a story with the Fisher family or someone out there because it was just they went to the local bars,
or they'll have this big gold necklace that Mel gave them on a boat one time.
So it's really crazy. Like everyone has a cool story to her. It's kind of the heritage of where I'm from. So it is really crazy to think I went to school to be a math and history teacher and I came out selling rare coins.
Isn't that funny how that works?
Well, the history degree will really help you.
Yeah. And it's crazy, because the history you learn from like studying coins is completely different.
Yes.
Right. It's really crazy how much you don't know. Right.
Or they don't teach
you. You can fill libraries with what I don't know.
It's insane. Like, we were just joking about it the other day because we were in St. Augustine because we were doing actually an interview with Michael Gaudioso, who's the Type 2 designer.
Sure.
And we went to Savannah the next week for the ANA show.
Sure.
So we didn't realize how much like culturally they're connected. Right. So it was really wild to see, like, especially like in modern times, like you go to St. Augustine, a lot of their food is very like southern Georgia, right? Where when you go to Georgia, a lot of the food is St. Augustine coastal stuff. So and the upbringing. Now, obviously, those two towns go back to some of the oldest towns in America. Being Savannah,
St. Augustine.
Yeah. Well, St. Augustine is technically isn't the oldest colony of America. It's the longest running colony in America. We went through that
because there are a bunch of people that died.
Yeah,
they didn't make it.
I'm sure the viewers will comment in the bottom, but I believe there was somewhere in
they always seem to know,
like North Carolina or something like that, where there was like a French village, but like it wasn't like, it was more of like a military standpoint that got taken over, so it didn't have enough time to turn into like a quote unquote colony. But me and Isaac were in the car in my Tesla, and we were arguing with Gronk the whole time. We're like, what is the oldest colony? And it kept telling us St. Augustine, and we're like, that's wrong.
So all of you listeners in Massachusetts, please feel free to correct us in the comments.
Yes, please. But it's just, it's just pretty crazy, like, diving down like the coin route, like really where it starts getting to. Like we were joking the other day, we were looking at a pine tree shilling. And like one of the walkers, not the walkers, one of the guests to a convention was walking by, and they didn't know anything about coins, but they looked at it and they go, that really looks like the Four Seasons logo. And I was like, you know what? I think it is.
Isn't that funny?
Right, which is really crazy. So now we already started making a joke that every time we go to a JW, we're like, oh, it's sponsored by Stax Powers because the Griffin.
Nice.
So it's hilarious when you really not even looking at coins, when you just start looking at like the stuff that's on the coins, like how it just ties through so much. It's just like,
I work for an ancient coin dealer, and because I work for an ancient coin dealer, he is very quick to point out that the St. Gaudens design comes from ancient Rome, that all the stuff always goes back. Nothing's original to him.
No, it's always a studied and elaborated piece.
Imagine if St. Gaudens put Remus and Romulus suckling the she-wolf on his coin. We'd be in a totally different spot right now.
That's hilarious.
Go ahead.
No.
Well, I was going to say, you want to plug all the social stuff you're doing?
Yeah. So, I mean, mainly it's just our YouTube. So Premier Rare Coins YouTube and Premier Rare Coins Instagram. We are getting on pretty much every platform you can imagine. So if you just look up Premier Rare Coins, you'll see Isaac or I that's there. And we really appreciate what you guys are doing. We love the show stuff. We hope that all the other shows start allowing more podcasts and fun stuff to pop up, because realistically, like you guys said, like this is where the views are coming. Like I wouldn't be surprised if eventually this podcast gets more views about the show than the show gets itself.
Yeah,
I was just making that comment.
We were just talking about
before
that.
You got here.
This is an evergreen subject where we talk to these people, and in 10 years we can come back and watch these interviews.
And they're still going to be relevant.
They're still going to be relevant. They're still going to be, or it's going to be what has happened in those 10 years that they can go back and use that as a research subject.
Yeah, because we're not so focused on what are you doing right now. It's like we're more broad, general.
Yeah. And it's really exceptional because, I would say, unfortunately, most of the other hobbies and other entrepreneurial things that you can do are already all over the internet. Most people are aware of them. They're aware of the in and outs. The coin industry, in my opinion, is, a little behind, a decade behind or so.
Underrepresented.
Exactly. So there's a lot of room for younger people, older people. I mean, every generational person that is interested in this, right, to be able to come in here and still figure out their own way through. So it is, I started 10 years ago and I felt the same way I do now. So trust me, it doesn't really change.
There is no correct path though.
I started 30 years ago and I still feel the exact same way. So I feel I trust me. And Mike started back in 1936.
That's incredible.
Right?
Yeah, absolutely.
36. Yeah. You were negative 20. Old fart.
His tablets were concrete and chisels.
I bring you these 15, 10 tablets.
We call those the 40%ers or 90%ers.
Yeah.
Wow. I am getting hammered here. So,
Mike.
Okay, thanks. So, what is your favorite part about the Premier Rare Coins podcast?
So my favorite point, or my favorite thing about the Premier Rare Coins podcast is that if you're listening to it and following it, you're getting live current events of, what could potentially, I'm not an investor, I can't give investment advice.
Sure.
But you're learning in real time what 4 coin dealers from around the world are actively doing to earn an income. Like you watched me bark and yell from the top of the mountain about the West Point proof and the Philly congratulations proof coming out on every podcast, about proof designs going up in value. You hear our opinions about this kind of stuff live. And we're not only just telling you what we think, but we're telling you where we're going to put all of our money as well. So, if you were listening to our podcast and you were to show up at the Savannah Coin Show, you would have been able to walk up to the US Mint and buy a Philly proof coin, buy a Philly West Point coin. And now those coins are double on eBay
And
today.
there's probably guys standing at the end of the line wanting to
congratulations.
buy them.
Yeah,
From
but
us.
like me,
Yeah.
right? I was buying them at $300 cash. At
Well,
my
last
booth,
year
you know?
here in Baltimore, we were doing the same
were
thing.
doing the
We were
same
buying
thing.
the gold and
Yeah.
just selling it right away.
So that's my point. When we're doing our podcast, when we're doing our shows, like we really only want to interview the people that have something like that they can tell us. You know, we really want our viewers that are interested in this to be able to afford to be able to do it. You know, like, you know, and it's pretty crazy to think that like if you could have drove to Savannah, Georgia, you know, you with 2 or 3 people, you could have bought 2 or 3 of these coins. You could have made $1,000 with 2 or 3 people going up to the coin show and then going back to other coin dealers like me. That would have paid for your gas. That would have paid for your hotel. That would have paid for you to be able to go to the show. And now it's time to make some money.
Do you remember when people stood outside in Chicago for like 2 days to buy
I remember
those
they got
Kennedy
trampled.
halves?
Yeah.
Yeah.
They got trampled.
I remember.
It was
I
bad.
was there. It was a very interesting thing. So
So, you know, that's my cool point about like our podcast is we're not giving origin stories for the most part. We're trying to keep people involved in like, because like everyone knows about Nike drops. They know about Pokemon drops at Target, but they don't know that the US Mint literally drops cool coins that you're almost like, if you know the coin, like if let me put it this way, what is it? The America Beautiful collection with the bucking bronco, the sunflower. If you would have bought any of those coins, you would have been up on your money immediately, right? Like literally every one of those coins that have been launched. So if you're close to a coin dealer, it's easy to go to a show, walk around to 10 booths, right? Hey, are you buying these coins from the US Mint? You'd have found someone like me that's, $300. I'll literally give you $200 now if you sign this. You use my money to go buy the coin, keep the change, and I'll give you another $100 when you bring it back to me. Like,
sounds like a great deal.
Right. And there's so many other dealers that are doing stuff like this on the floor that are searching for coins that you can make money at a coin show by not even spending your own money at a coin show.
isn't that fun?
Like I said, there's millions of ways to do it. There's no wrong way.
That's right.
Your path is your path, and it's yours alone.
Yeah. But that's the best part that I love about the podcast is that we really try to find as many different ways that people have made it into the coin world and how they're doing so. Which is insane that for such a small niche, right, there are almost an infinite amount of ways. Like I've never heard like 2 or 3 people say the same thing. Like, you know, it's just, it's wild.
That's the best part about coins. There is no wrong way to do it.
Yeah.
You can do anything you
can be as wrong as you want.
Right.
Yeah. There's just so many ways.
That's right.
You can collect microwares and use a coin app to tell you what they're worth, and it's okay.
You can do that if you want. So if they're looking for you in your pod, where can they find you?
Everywhere. We talked about this.
Yeah.
Everywhere. YouTube, Instagram.
You just Google Premier Rare Coins.
Give it a book.
No, and I appreciate it. Yeah, if you want to plug, you just Google Premier Rare Coins. You know, Florida, you literally can't miss us. You know, we pop up on a lot of those channels, and you'll see the eagle, right?
Yeah.
So that's our, that's our sign, right? So that's our
bat
little
signal.
logo.
The Austrian.
Our bat.
Yeah.
You know, so yeah.
The Austrian government.
Which is hilarious, it's another funny thing.
Yes,
against symbols.
You made me see that.
Right,
That was
like
good.
I doubt that when Heritage picked, right, or not Heritage, Stax picked their logo, the Griffin, that they assumed they'd be associated, right, with JW.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I gotta go look at that Four Seasons logo here.
Yeah, we're gonna have to. We're gonna go take a field
I'm
trip.
telling you. And then I'm telling you, look up the pine tree shilling and then Four Seasons, and it's like now all of a sudden you'll be like seeing stuff. You'll be like,
Gosh,
it's like the
so
National
funny.
Treasure
funny.
movie.
Yeah.
Who was it that
It's
had
still
the pine
adorable.
tree shilling for their coin for their business card? One of the old dealers.
Oh, Jesus. I know who you're talking about.
And I
can't
have
remember
one.
his name. Do you?
Yeah,
Cool.
I have one of those.
That's
It's,
awesome.
it's really cool. Pine
Yeah.
tree shilling for a business card.
Well,
that's pretty crazy.
Well, Jeff, we appreciate you coming on, hanging out with us.
Yeah, really
and,
appreciate it.
We're looking forward to watching all the fun stuff you guys do. And,
Yeah, likewise.
Continued success.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you guys.
Thank
Really
you so
appreciate what you guys
Thanks
are
for coming
doing.
on.
Yeah, appreciate it. Bye, guys. Yeah.